Hi, everybody. It's Sunday evening. It's regional weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. We have so much to cover today, almost as much as we have to cover during the winter when there's a big winter storm coming. We've got heat, which is not just going to be hot, it's going to be dangerously hot because we're going to have heat indices that will blow your mind temperature wise. We're talking 110 at times. Like that's some pretty serious heat. We don't mess around with that. So we're going to talk about when the time frame is for the heat. I think more importantly and more interestingly, we're going to talk a lot about the severe weather setup as we get into the daytime tomorrow and then again later on this week. It's really up in the air. We have the potential right there, and that's not a pun, the up in the air thing, but we have the potential the next couple days, mainly tomorrow, but maybe on the back end of this as well, for a pretty decent thunderstorm to move through, like a complex. It just depends on where it goes. So we're going to highlight that as well. I think that's all we'll cover. We'll go a little long range too. You know how we do, but we've got a lot to cover. So we'll get to it here after our opening. We'll wait for some people to join here on the Sunday evening edition of Region Weather Live. Just realized I need to change that background. It's so wintry looking. So we'll handle that this week. All right. Thanks for joining us here on this Sunday evening, everybody. If we haven't met, I'm region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. We've been doing this for a long time, so I'm glad you've come along for the ride here tonight. The way these work, we'll thank our sponsors. Obviously, they keep the show for free week in, week out, which is great. Just couldn't be more thankful for them. We're going to go through some analysis. I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing. We'll give you a forecast. The whole point of this is to really get you prepared for the week ahead. I know you can look at your phone app. I get it. It shows the weather, but then that weather changes the next day. It changes the next hour. It changes the next minute. I want to let you know what those changes may be and why as we go throughout the week as well. And we've got heat and severe weather to talk about. Okay, two sponsors we need to thank. Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in the Valparaiso area. If you're from Valpo, you've seen them as you've driven by on US 30. Pay them a visit if you get a chance. They've got all their new Jeeps out. They've been out for a while now, and they said they've been selling pretty well, which I don't blame them because it's summertime across the region. And what's better than no top, even no door on your Jeep, right? That's just a nice thing. It really is. But pay them a visit if you get a chance. Support them if you can. Other sponsors, Tiger Plumbing. If you need a plumber, Northwest Indiana, they're the place to go. They don't charge trip fees, which is amazing. They come out for free. Gas prices are crazy, but they don't charge you for that. A lot of places charge $99 for that. They always have a tip of the week as well. And today's tip of the week is that there was actually a study done they spent $100,000 on this study to figure out if people put the flap on their toilet paper on the front of the roll or the back of the roll. Do I need to ask which are you? Does anyone put it on the back? That makes no sense. But apparently, so they spent all this money on this study, probably taxpayer dollars. But anyway, they found that 3 out of 4 people put the flap on the front, right? I think my wife is the only person I know that puts it on the back. And I think that's inadvertently. I'm not too sure if she means to do that. But let me know in the comments what you've got going on. I love their facts they give us, though. But tigerplumbing.net, place to go. We've had many region weather folks reach out to them. They've done work on, either their pipes or leaky flap or whatever it happens to be, and they have loved them. So I promise you won't be disappointed. All right, I want to say hi to everyone real quick. Michelle, hello. Stephanie, hello. Amy, hi. Gregory, thanks for joining us. Rhonda, Dave, thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel. Aaron, Mark, good evening to you. And let's see. Dave, you're absolutely welcome. I appreciate that. All right. And Amanda, thanks for joining us here. We'll get to the forecasts right now. So let's pull it up here. This is the first part I want to go over is the analysis. This is kind of the state of the atmosphere right now, what we have going on. You notice it's turned a little cooler this evening. We've had a cold front that went by. The wind is off the lake, so we've got a north wind. There's heat and humidity that's not far off right now. You get downstate, down towards St. Louis. It's just blazing hot in the Plain States. So that's coming back at us tomorrow. But what you're looking at right here, these are the explosive thunderstorms out in the Dakotas right now. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings galore with these. But when you look at this map, this is the infrared satellite. The reds that you see are the really high cold cloud tops. So these are shooting up 50 to 60,000 feet in the atmosphere. Some of these thunderstorms this time of year with as much heat as we have go higher than any other clouds do. You'll see the biggest thunderstorms that you can possibly get. So these things are shooting way up in space. The storms that we've seen form out in South Dakota are what we call MCSs, a mesoscale convective system. Basically, it's a large cluster of thunderstorms that acts as kind of its own thing, and it'll travel across the plain states, usually along some kind of boundary, whether that be an instability boundary, heat boundary, which it happens to be right now. It's kind of a little bit of both. But basically, storms like to travel this time of year in the summer months, this pattern, they like to travel along boundaries. If you noticed, we have turned cooler this evening, right? Just south of us is a boundary where it goes from cool, which we have now, to the warm, sticky, very tropical air down to the south. There's also a lot of instability down there. There's not much instability here. That happens to be what I've referred to in the past as the train tracks that get laid down. So these large clusters of storms like to travel around wherever those tracks are laid, where the instability is different on both sides. And again, they happen to go through Northwest Indiana right now. Tomorrow during the day, that boundary is going to slide back off towards the north. So what you're going to notice tomorrow is that we're going to go from comfortable in the morning to by mid-morning, midday, that humidity is going to come surging in. All right. With this air mass we're going to settle into the next couple of days, that heat is going to be in here as well. But it all depends on if some of these storms track along that boundary before the heat arrives, because if we get storms, it'll knock that boundary back down to the south for a few more hours, and then the heat will come back, likely by Tuesday. So big question marks in tomorrow's forecast. If you've been with me summers past, I talk about this pattern all the time. Computer models and model guidance for meteorologists and everyone that uses these computer models is so bad this time of year because there's so many variables. It all depends on where the initiation or where these storms actually develop. And it depends on the fluctuation of that boundary wherever it goes. It's an extremely complicated forecast. And I'm telling you, it's one of the trickiest ones for the models to pick up on. And oftentimes as meteorologists, we're flying blind into this, whether we're going to get storms or not. And that is the case tomorrow. I'm going to be completely transparent with you that the models all disagree on where these storms go and how strong they are. But there are a couple flags that are out there. And, knowing from past experience, that when that boundary's over us, we've got hot down to the south, cooler off towards the north, and we're talking the kind of heat that's moving in, we have the potential for some big-time storms to move through either Northwest Indiana or somewhere in the Great Lakes, and that would be tomorrow. So let's jump into it. The Storm Prediction Center, their job is to forecast where the big storms are going to be, and this is what they put out for tonight. More importantly, this is what they put out for tomorrow in terms of risk. You can see it lines up with a slight risk because they're, not really that sure about if this really moves through or not. But that slight risk goes right through Northwest Indiana, Chicago, back through Ohio and West Virginia. That's in anticipation of this large cluster of storms, which hasn't developed yet. We're not going to get the Dakota stuff, but this large cluster of storms is expected to develop, and it's expected to roll wherever it goes from west to east, and that will likely have those big winds with it. When I talk about what kind of storm we could have tomorrow, and we'll look at the models, I'll show you what I'm thinking, and if it goes north, it goes north. But the kind of storm we're talking about, we usually get maybe once or twice a year, and it's that big line where all of a sudden it's sunny, and then it gets real dark real fast, and you have that big squall line that comes in where you have the big shelf cloud, and then the winds come in like a hurricane. It's nuts. It goes nuts for a while. You have hail, high wind. It's those good old-fashioned, really good thunderstorms that we get maybe once or twice a year. The last couple of years, I don't think we've gotten any of this type of storm, at least from coverage sake and, breaking in for severe weather. But you see the potential. Storm Prediction Center says that wherever that storm cluster goes tomorrow, there is a tornado potential with it. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center is saying there's a 5% chance of a tornado within 25 miles, and that's through Northwest Indiana. So that's a pretty high threat. Our threat usually doesn't get higher than that for tornadoes. But again, there's a lot of question mark on where this storm actually goes. I could foresee a situation where we don't see any rain tomorrow. I could also see it where this storm cluster goes right through Northwest Indiana. It's that tough of a forecast. The biggest threat with this outside of the tornado threat is the strong winds. You see that black lined area there. That's where they have some very strong wind potential. That's just north of here, but bottom line, you tend to get damaging winds on the leading edge of that. And then you also have hail. I mean, you get all modes of severe weather with this. All right, so let's get into it. I want to show you the two models and the one that I'm kind of leaning towards. as we get into tomorrow, and this is really all we're talking about is tomorrow. First of all, we've got heat to talk about beyond that, but tomorrow I want to get through the storm threat. So here's what we're dealing with tonight. This is the NAM-NEST model. This is one of several higher res models that you can look at or meteorologists look at, and we analyze. And you see what it does with this North Dakota stuff. This is that nasty line of storms here. It does have development tonight. This is overnight tonight down towards Illinois along the warm front. I could see that. And then watch how it kind of lifts north tomorrow. This is tomorrow morning. This is tomorrow midday. You see how the NAM-NEST has pretty much everything missing this, but there's some pretty decent storms really close, maybe Newton, Jasper County. Here's that cluster coming out of the north. It has that kind of fizzling. We would just get a little bit of rain out of that. And then tomorrow evening, you can see more storms firing up back towards Michigan, eastern half of the Hoosier State. And then we get some training thunderstorms that could produce some flooding right through northwest Indiana. And then it's all gone. That boundary's gone. We're in the heat. We're just in the heat on Tuesday. There's no threat of severe weather or anything like that. This is really the transition between the cool that we have now and the warm, right? That's where those tracks are. And as that track potential moves through northwest Indiana, that's where our storm threat is. That track potential goes way north and east on Tuesday. So we don't have to worry about big storms on Tuesday. It's just tomorrow, and where do they go? So that's not really that concerning of a model. I mean, I'm not really worried about that. It looks like a couple storms around. None of it hits northwest Indiana. The one that's concerning, and I think the one that the Storm Prediction Center, which are the big boys right in Norman, Oklahoma, this is the one I think they're going with, and this is the HRRR. So the HRRR, HRRR as we call it. We call it the HRRR. The HRRR is high res, and it updates every single hour, and that's why I like the HRRR for situations like this, because it takes data in from right now versus every 6 hours like the NAM does. So it's taking data and it's fixing the model as it learns what's happening. And so this is really the one to watch. You notice as we go through time, it does have some storms firing up overnight tonight along the warm front. Nothing big. It's not really predicting that. But here's what it has tomorrow morning. So this is tomorrow morning. This is the stuff coming out of the Dakotas. I kind of like the look of that in terms of the modeling. And then as we go through time tomorrow, look at this MCS develop. Just a big cluster of storms. You get damaging winds on the leading edge, perhaps some tornadoes in there as well. Look where it takes it. It starts to bend it along that arc of instability that we have, but it takes it just north of the area. These are some powerhouse storms coming into Michigan. If this were to verify, these would likely have 70, 80, maybe even 90-mile-per-hour winds. The potential is there that this could become a derecho, which is a long-lasting wind event that goes multiple states, lasts for multiple hours. But the modeling has it north of here. So in this setup, we may see dark clouds out over the lake, but we wouldn't get a drop of rain, right? But I'm telling you that the accuracy of these models, of any of them, it doesn't matter which one you pick, tends to be off. So that's why when I see the recognition for this big MCS, we have to be concerned, because if it's off by 20 miles or so, this thing comes right through northwest Indiana. If it's off by 2 hours in terms of the development, this could be a later setup tomorrow. It could be further north. There's just so many questions with this, and there's not going to be accuracy on this until it develops. The good news is it's not going to develop right over us. It's going to develop well northwest of us. So we will see this coming as we get into the midday and early afternoon hours tomorrow. And I promise you, we are going to have updates. I'm going to be with you tomorrow as we continue to track this. But you can see as we get into tomorrow evening, this is a huge Boeing segment, probably 89 mile-per-hour winds if that were to vary, heading through areas of southern Michigan into Ohio. Eventually it heads on out. We're in the heat on Tuesday. Remember, no problems on Tuesday, okay? So that's what we're dealing with tomorrow. That's what we're looking at on the modeling, is we're waiting for an MCS, a mesoscale convective system, to develop way off towards the north. It's going to ride this boundary. And let me show you this boundary, by the way. This is, let me show you this one right here. This is the instability of the atmosphere. There are incredible amounts of instability, as there often are this time of year. Remember, it takes high humidity, dew points that are way up. We've got dew points approaching 80 in areas of the plains. And then we've got sunshine. We've got high temperatures well into the 90s. I mean, just incredible amounts of instability. And what do I mean by instability? How buoyant is the atmosphere? How easy is it for something to lift up and become a cloud? These are incredible numbers south of us. Usually for severe weather, we need usually 500 to 1,000 on this scale, which is the purple into the blue. And that's joules per kilogram square, which is just a measure of the juju in the atmosphere. So we usually only need purple, but look at this. I mean, these are some of the highest numbers I've seen in a long time. It happens in the summertime, but it's really neat to see it. But watch what happens with this boundary. See where it is? It goes right through us, right through here. That's where storms like to go on this instability boundary. And as we get into the daytime tomorrow, notice how that boundary sets up right here. That's why storms curve this time of year as well. You'll see it coming out of the Dakotas, and then it'll start to curve south. You ever notice that in the summertime? You get these big clusters of storms and they're working east, and you're like, that's never going to hit us. And then it curves across the lake. It's because they're following these boundaries. And this particular boundary is an instability boundary between really unstable air and not so unstable air. And you can see as we get into Monday night and Tuesday, we get incredible amounts of instability around here. And that comes with a lot of heat and humidity as well. All right, so that's that. So I hope that answers any questions you might have on our storm potential tomorrow. Time frame would be midday through tomorrow night, really, tomorrow late evening. And it depends on where this big cluster of storms develops, and then we'll have a good idea of where it's going to track. So two things I want to say as we kind of transition into temperatures now. I'm not even going to show you temperatures. I'm going to show you feels like temperatures because that's what matters. It doesn't matter what the air temperature is. It matters what it feels like to your exposed skin. So we're going to talk heat indices. But the other thing about tomorrow, if you have a phone app and you're looking at it and you're like, this one's different than this one, we're either going to be into the 90s tomorrow. If we don't see any rain, it's going to be into the 90s. It's going to be hot and humid starting tomorrow afternoon. All right. We know that. We're going to warm up quickly. But if we see that rain, if that cluster of storms comes through, that's going to delay our heating a couple more hours. So we likely won't hit 90 tomorrow. If we get that cluster of storms through the area, we'll have to wait till Tuesday. And I don't think anyone's too thrilled about getting into the mid and upper 90s. But just so you know, that temperature tomorrow has a big error possibility. Let's just say that. I've got us forecasted right at 90. That's kind of being safe because we could be 92, 93. We could be in the 80s if we get the rain. All right. So it all depends. Tomorrow's forecast all depends on where that cluster of storms goes. Okay. All right. Let's talk heat. Hopefully you can see this. Actually, let me zoom in a little bit more for you. We're going to talk how warm it's going to get. And by warm, I mean dangerously hot. And I usually don't use the term dangerous when I talk to temperatures. But guys, this is nasty stuff starting especially Tuesday. But you're going to start to feel tomorrow. So here's your feels like numbers. Here we go. This is tomorrow during the day. This is the Euro model. The Euro has the rain staying north of us tomorrow. Remember, Euro is more of a global model, so you don't get these these little finite details in there in terms of where the storm track is going to be. Could it be right? Sure could, but just keep in mind. So these are your feels like numbers tomorrow afternoon. 99 Valpo, 100 in Hammond, 102 down in Rensselaer. That's a hot afternoon, right? Remember, if we get rain, which the Euro is saying we don't tomorrow, it has it up in Michigan. If we get rain tomorrow, it's not going to be quite as hot tomorrow afternoon. Confidence increases in our heat on Tuesday. We've been calling this since last week. We talked about our last Region Weather Live. It's no secret that we're going to get hot on Tuesday. This is the other thing I wanted to show you. This is while you're sleeping Monday night. It still feels like 85 outside. Yuck. Air temperatures are probably going to be 77, 78. But this dose of heat this week comes with some serious humidity. I mean, these are going to be the hottest, not just the hottest temps, but the highest humidity values that we've had all year. This is some serious stuff. It really is. It's going to be just tropical outside, just disgusting. Especially Monday night, you really start to feel that tropical feel. All right, Tuesday's our hot day. This is going to be our hottest day. Air temperatures probably 96, 97, maybe 98 on Tuesday. And then look at what the humidity does when you marry those two numbers together. There's your hottest part of the day. If you can't see those numbers, we're talking feels like temperatures, 106, 107, 108. That's hot. That is dangerously hot, you guys, especially because your body wants to cool itself if you are outside. How does your body cool itself? It sweats, right? Sweat, when it evaporates, is a cooling process. But sweat, when it can evaporate, because it's so darn humid outside, is not a cooling process. Your sweat sticks on you, and it doesn't cool you down because it's not evaporating. That's the problem, right? Where your sweat doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So hydration's key. You guys know the drill. To be honest, you don't need a meteorologist telling you how to behave. You're an adult, right? Drink water. Stay out of it if you can. I know a lot of you can't. Construction workers, stuff like that. Please take care of yourself, all right? Heat is more dangerous than any of the other facets of weather. Flooding and heat are the two biggest ones, right? So it's not sexy to talk about, but I'll tell you, it certainly is something we need to keep an eye on. Tuesday is going to be nasty hot. Okay. Storm threat Tuesday. Nope. We're well in the heat. We're going to have a cap in the atmosphere, meaning the clouds can't go above a certain thing. I doubt we'll have clouds. We may have a couple around, but it doesn't look like much. Tuesday night's going to be a hot night. Here's your Wednesday morning. Feels like temperatures were in the 80s. That's all the cooler we're going to get. Feels like air temperature probably going to be in the upper 70s once again. And then here's your feels like temperature on Wednesday. Wednesday won't be quite as bad because the humidity kind of backs off just a little bit. And temperatures are going to back off just maybe a degree or two, but it will make a difference. Wednesday's still going to be dangerously hot, but not as hot. You see the heat index approaching 100, but we're not talking 107, 108, 109. Tuesday is serious danger heat. Wednesday is serious heat. It's going to be hot, right? And then eventually Thursday, that's when we get our break. We'll have a cold front that comes through here. It's going to be really warm and muggy around here Wednesday night. But then on Thursday, we'll probably see some showers and thunderstorms with that line as it moves through, some kind of line of storms with that front. But we'll focus on that when the time comes, okay? So again, Tuesday's the bad day in terms of the heat. Tomorrow could be the bad day in terms of storms. Not too sure the exact path of that, and then we'll go from there, okay? So as always, let's open it up to your questions tomorrow or for tomorrow about storms or about the heat or whatever other weather questions you have. We'll be happy to answer those for you, and then we'll get you on your way here on this Sunday night. All right, thanks for joining us. Certainly appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. We've got stay hydrated. Appreciate that. Yeah, Diana wanted warmer weather, but not scorching weather. And unfortunately, Diana, we just can't have nice things around here. So, Diana, take care. Diane. Boy, people call me Mark sometimes, and it's Matt. But anyway, Diane, take care of yourself, okay? As we get into the next couple of days, take care of yourself always, but especially tomorrow. Mary, I'm glad you had a nice weekend. Yeah, so Mary's regarding to my Instagram page. My daughter Emmy, she's 6. She lost her shiny rock. We got her a shiny rock. It was like $1.50 at a rock store, but she lost it in this parking lot. The parking lot was full of rocks. It was like the big rocks, the gravel. And so she ended up finding it, Mary. She found it she left it in the car. Oh, it was crazy. We were looking. We didn't look that long, thank goodness, because we're like, let's check the car. She left it in her car seat. So anyway, Amy, yes, there is a hail risk tomorrow. The storms tomorrow, again, if anyone's just joining us now, please watch the beginning of this because that's when we kind of went through the analysis of it. But it's not a slam dunk 100% bet that these storms hit us tomorrow. It's going to be a large cluster of storms somewhere in the Midwest. Does it go through Michigan? Does it come through us? Does it stay in 2 parts? But the potential is there tomorrow, big time, for some decent storm, like a decent storm. It wouldn't even be storms. It would be one large storm wherever it goes. It would have all modes of severe weather with that. And what I mean by that is ton of lightning, very heavy rain, strong winds. The potential's there for wherever this line of storms goes. The potential's there for probably 70, 80, maybe higher mile per hour winds on the leading edge of that. There's a large hail threat with it. There is a tornado threat with it. But again, it's not a slam dunk that it goes over Northwest Indiana. The models are notoriously bad in this kind of setup because they are tricky. I mean, these storms are popping out of nothing. They really are. It's not like a cold front is triggering this. It's just an agitated atmosphere where if someone goes like into the atmosphere, boom, there's your storm. It develops. So it's a very complicated setup. And I'm not saying that as a lazy meteorologist. I'm saying that in full transparency. That's why these forecasts can be pretty bad this time of year because they're so complicated in terms of how big the storm gets, where it develops, if it develops in 2 chunks, whatever it happens to be. There's a lot of variables. So there you go. Maxwell's asking a great question. Will we have a cap tomorrow? Maxwell, we will eventually have a cap. So what he's referring to, the atmosphere, when a cloud rises, when you get a thunderstorm to develop, you have to have cold air aloft. Typically in the atmosphere, it gets colder as you go up, right? That makes sense. And that allows a cloud to form and you can get thunderstorms. So if we had a lot of cold air above us, we'd have storms develop. It'd be easy. What Maxwell is talking about is a cap. You'll often hear that the atmosphere is capped. So what that means is you remember, you rely on cold air up above you. What's happening tomorrow is there's warmer air coming in up above us, like a layer of hot air that comes in at the 850 level, typically, just basically up where the clouds are, right? This warm air comes in. when there's warm air up above us, which there normally isn't, that's called a cap, the clouds will want to rise because it's getting cooler, but then it hits this cap where it gets warmer and the cloud goes away. So when you have a capped atmosphere, which we will have on Tuesday, that's why we're not going to have storms on Tuesday, because there's going to be warmer air up above us and it's going to be downright hot here. But tomorrow, the warmer air is coming in. So we're probably not going to have a cap earlier enough. The warm air might try to get here in the afternoon, but if there's a large cluster of storms, it's going to say, whoop, hold on, goes through, and then the cap comes in for Tuesday, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But that's what we call it if you say, hey, storms didn't develop today because the atmosphere was capped. It's because it means you have warm air up above you. Hope that helps as well. Let's see. Oh, that's so sweet, Jody. Hi, Matt. I like your channel a lot, from your 7-year-old Stella. Oh, that just melts my heart. Jody, thank you so much. Hi, Stella. Thanks for joining us here. I appreciate you trusting in me, Stella, for your weather forecast. Again, my job is to make you a meteorologist as well. And all those of you watching as well, I love to teach. We know that, right? So I'm not just going to bark the forecast at you. I want it to be interactive. If there's something that you see, if you take a look at the models that you have a question on, feel free to ask. Okay, this is a community that we get together and talk weather, right? So I want you to be able to talk about it just as much. Karen, great suggestion. Just keep your phones charged tomorrow, just in case. Yep, you never know about them, especially with the heat. We could get power outages with that, with too much air conditioner usage, with the power grid, whatever it happens to be, okay? Jan, you can go to Costco. Just go there early. And just keep an eye. We're going to see these storms coming. So I'll have updates for you tomorrow, because I'm going to be getting up like a kid in a candy shop to find out where these storms developed in the morning. Or not a kid in a candy shop, a kid on Christmas morning. The candy shop, I'd be browsing everything. I'm not browsing. But, I want to see where these storms develop as well, because, I've got all the news tomorrow as well. And that's going to be something that I'll be watching for our local news as well. So, oh, shoot. Wendy's saying the internet's a little choppy tonight. Wendy, I have a good signal here. I usually keep an eye on it. I've got 3 out of 3. So if it's choppy, I'm sorry. That's so annoying when something's choppy, for sure. And Maxwell will be swimming on Tuesday. I hope so, Maxwell. We all need to be in a pool on Tuesday for sure. All right. I think I've answered all the questions. Some of you have sent stars tonight. Thank you so much. You do not ever have to do that. I appreciate it so much. I use that as my diaper fund for my my little one. I promise that's what I use it for. So thank you. I know Facebook does this thing. That you can send stars for whatever it is. I don't even know what they charge for it, but I thank you very much. I do not miss those, and I certainly appreciate it. Andrew says kids start camp tomorrow. Will they start outside of Northwest Indiana? That's okay, Andrew. So the kids are going to have to the camp counselors are going to have to keep their eye on the radar tomorrow, Andrew. There's a potential for a large cluster of storms to develop. There's so much uncertainty on where this thing goes. You can look at 100 models. They all have different solutions. It's either going to go through Michigan, off to the north. It's either going to plow through Northwest Indiana, may go south, may be in 2 different chunks. But bottom line, there's a storm threat tomorrow afternoon and evening. And it's going to be this big cluster of storms coming out of the west. So we will see this thing coming, and it's going to be potent wherever it goes. We're talking high winds, hail, perhaps some tornadoes with it. But again, does it move through Northwest Indiana? Really, no one knows right now. We'll know about 12 hours out. So tomorrow morning, we should have a better idea. Yeah, Mike, I think you're fine early in the morning, but in terms of the afternoon, it'd probably be best to not do that. Could we end up dry all day tomorrow? We looked at a couple models that show that. We certainly could be, but I would probably not. Jeff asked a great question. Is this going to be a derecho? Jeff, the potential is there that this turns into a derecho. So that means, you've got the damaging winds. You've got this long-lived cluster of storms that produces wind damage for like 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, something like that. I'm not sure the criteria exactly, but it has the potential for that tomorrow. Yes, it's one of those for sure. Susan, thank you for that. I appreciate your comment. Thanks for joining us here as well, for sure. Joey, Amy, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys. Courtney, thank you so much. My poor husband will be working on a blast furnace tomorrow. Oh, Adrian, my poor husband will be working on a blast furnace tomorrow and Tuesday. I hate when these heat waves fall. Oh my goodness. man, make sure he's hydrated going to work. I know he knows the drill. I'm sure he does, but that water is key. That water is so key, and staying cool tomorrow for sure. Please, Melissa, thank you very much. You don't need to do that. I thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, Susan, it's here. It'll be here for sure. Yeah, especially Tuesday, you're going to feel it. Andrew, you're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions about weather or life advice? We do that. We could do a counseling session if you want. I'm just kidding. I don't have anything together, so you're not going to want advice from me. Dad of 3. It's great. All right, I think that's it. Okay, so guys, here's what we're going to do. As always, I've talked about the schedule changing. My work schedule has changed, and it will allow for some more, tracking and stuff like that, which is great. We're going to stay with Sunday nights for Region Weather Lives. We're going to stay with Wednesday nights for Region Weather Live. Tomorrow, I'm just going to guarantee it. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a special Region Weather Live, probably tomorrow evening, depending on where these storms are. I'll probably have something earlier. If these storms have developed in the morning or if they develop midday, I'll put out a special video update or maybe go live early in the afternoon tomorrow. Bottom line, what you need to know, don't revolve your schedule around it, but just stay tuned to here, obviously, for any updated information. The thing about Facebook is that it kind of shows stuff in your feed based on how it wants. So you're going to have to go to the Region Weather page. That's also why we have regionweather.com. But just make sure you're getting the latest information tomorrow. I will be updating that as we go throughout the morning and then especially the afternoon and evening. I will be here for you for that, okay? The schedule allows that, all right? So that's kind of the setup for tomorrow. I hope we don't have to deal with anything. I hope this thing misses us to the north, but in case it doesn't, we're here for you here at Region Weather, okay? All right, thanks for joining us, guys. Enjoy your Sunday night. Tomorrow the heat comes in at some point, probably midday through early afternoon. You really feel that heat increase. Depending on where the storms go, that may delay the heat a little bit. But bottom line, we're about to get dangerously hot around here, especially Tuesday, and then still on into Wednesday before we get some relief, okay? So please take care of yourself, okay? All right.